Hey guys, let's talk today about how to write a rhetorical analysis. We'll do a little bit of more work on this. In class we looked at this image. This is from Adbusters, which is a group that critiques American consumerism and materialism and so on. At first glance, this looks like it's an advertisement for Tommy Hilfiger, but if you look closely, you see it's an advertisement for Tommy Hilfiger. So this is a parody with a critique. I think the critique is that people who wear name brand clothing are sheeple. They're followers. They don't stand out. They're just part of a crowd. That's their critique. I'm not making that critique at this moment. That's their critique they're making. And I bring this up is just to remind you all that I need to approve your ads before you write about them so that you guys don't make the mistake, which could happen to anybody, of not actually picking an ad. So remember, you have to pick a contemporary ad from a magazine or newspaper. You can't go online to Google and just do an image search. Can't do anything for that. It has to be from this year and it has to be in a magazine. It has to be. That actually makes your life a bit easier because it provides you a context that you can talk about things like kairos and audience and that kind of stuff. Here's an example. You can just pause this and look at it yourself. I did have someone years ago that turned this one in. This again is a parody ad. It's not an actual ad. It's pretty funny, really, but you can't do a rhetorical analysis of an ad if what you have there is a parody. So that's why I need to prove it. So we've talked about Aristotle's point of view on rhetoric, that it's finding the available means of persuasion. We've talked about ethos, logos, and pathos, about how ethos is in the speaker's credibility or character, logos is in the reasoning in the message, and pathos is in the audience's attention. We've also discussed and looked at this ad in particular and had some good discussion about this, about can you really separate ethos, logos, and pathos? I'm not sure if we talked exactly about that in class, but the truth of the matter is the lines between ethos, logos, and pathos, there is clarity, but there is an overlap. And so people can look at ads and reasonable people can make plausible, different arguments concerning which of the three appeals they think is dominant. So you could look at this particular one. This is from the Second World War here in the United States. Petroleum was rationed because petroleum was needed for the war effort, for tanks and ships and for planes and all that kind of stuff. And so you can look at it. There's a very clear logos that's going on here as well. And there's also very much a pathos that's going on. There's some ethos, but I think this tends to be more logos and pathos driven personally. But regardless, they all three are present in this ad, which is something I want to make again clear. Don't have as your thesis statement, the ad uses ethos, logos, and pathos. Why? Because every ad uses ethos, logos, and pathos. There's no argument. No one disagrees. You have to have some sort of argument. So we looked at some different images in class. For instance, we looked at this one of Shaq. It's a really cool image, and we talked about why he's a great spokesperson for this one. The logos of this in part would be, look at this guy. He is immense. He is this immense, amazing athlete. And if Icy Hot will work for someone like him, it'll work for someone like me. We also looked at how colors in the product are often brought out in the ad. So you can see the blue, the white, the red, orange, and the Icy Hot package or find some resemblance in the ad, in particular blue. It's a soothing color. Shaq's got a little bit of red in the clothing that he's wearing. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the word for that shirt. Let's just say shirt. He's also so huge that he's actually out of the frame. I mean, all these things are very well thought out by the designers. If you ever see a celebrity like this, there's definitely going to be some kind of ethos that's going on. We also looked at this ad. I can't read all the words on there, but there's a lot of words. In fact, words are one of the dominant things here. But in terms of an image, you have a child, and it's not a happy child, it's a sad child. put against a black, a very dark background. There's pathos going on here, but if we could read the words, I bet we would see logos and ethos in there as well. We looked at this ad, and this is from Dr. Robert Jarvik. He's the inventor of the Jarvik artificial heart. So look at this ad, right? You have a quote from from Dr. Jarvik. You got his name and his biography, and you got a picture of him. This is going to be very much ethos driven, and yet there's still going to be some elements. There's definitely some elements of pathos here too, right? With the word trust and the imagery going on. He seems like he's a nice guy. And of course, there's very much a logos going on here as well, right? That if the inventor of the artificial heart trusts this medicine for the heart, then it would make sense for me to do it as well. We looked at this ad, which is from Marlboro cigarettes. And there's a lot that's going on in this ad. The Marlboro Man, that's the name of the cowboy, is an iconic image in American advertising. And we talked about how this is tapping into all this kind of cultural baggage. That's not the right word, but we're going to go with it. So the cowboy in the American myth and the American understanding, right? The cowboy stands for America. He's independent. He's rugged. He's exploring the great West, the unknown. He's courageous. There's ideas here of traditional understandings of masculinity. All of that is going on here. So you'd have to really think about the kind of cultural connotations that are here. We looked at this ad, and I don't think any of us liked it. Honestly, it's an ugly ad, but I assume that they're using this ugly color scheme because that must be the colors that are used by the corporation's product. Very much a logos-driven ad, right? There's not much of an emotional connection with this, whatever. And you could also talk about ethos in that too. We looked at this particular ad, which has, there's very much emotion going on. Food, right? Food is appealing to your taste buds and all that stuff. Sweet, mothers is on here 3 times. The beautiful red coloring. There's definitely some pathos that's going on. This was an ad we didn't really spend any time on. Actually, I usually spend more time in class on this, but we didn't this time. But think about that in terms of ethos, logos, and pathos. And so with rhetorical analysis, you're trying to determine how a text works, what effect it has on readers, how it achieves its persuasiveness, and even at times how it might fail to be persuasive. So Aristotle, find the available means of persuasion. How is this ad seeking to persuade? Whom is this ad seeking to persuade? And how effective are they in persuading? And why or why not? I will tell you that sometimes people get kind of hung up in these essays, not very often, but occasionally, where they want to make some critique about how the ad would work better, yada, yada, yada. Okay, maybe, but I think these are ad campaigns that are, there's millions of dollars maybe sometimes involved in them. Probably the ads are working well enough, y'all. They probably are. So with that being the case, I would spend less time talking about how they could have done it differently and spend more time talking about what they did do. So determine how it works. You want to pick an ad, but not just any ad. This is a weird ad over here on the right from no doubt the early 20th century. There's a very clear logos there. Think about that. Definitely some pathos going on. So choose one you can work with. It could be one you disagree with, honestly. If there's something you don't like, find an ad for that, because that kind of dislike will kind of fuel you to write at greater length and perhaps be a little bit more critical. But pick one that's interesting to you and that has enough text to work with. Sometimes people, even this semester, I'm getting ads from people. It's like there's almost no words on them whatsoever. You can try your hand at it, but it's going to be a bit rougher. So this is a beautiful ad for McDonald's. I think it's very powerful, but there's just not much you're going to write about in this ad. I think it would be truly challenging. So think about what's novel. Think about hot spots, something that impresses, disturbs, or confuses you. This is all I'm just trying to get you guys to brainstorm, to get ads, brainstorm, write notes, and from that you'll have the data from which that you can write about at some length about these particular ones. So the author for these ads, I want to be very clear, don't talk about like the advertising company that actually made the ad don't talk about them. For our purposes, the author is going to be the company. So the author is going to be, in this case, Gillette, in this case, McDonald's, and so on. Talk about the ads. The ads author is the company that's behind it. So you can do, if you get stuck when you're writing this and you think, oh man, I feel like I've run out of steam, you can pick another ad to use a comparison. I still want you to focus primarily on one ad, but like say, if you're talking about, for instance, this Gillette safety razor, you could go and find another ad for another razor company and use that as a point of comparison. But keep your focus on one ad and just use the other one as kind of to supplement yourself. So this was one we looked at. This was for a fur ad, and then we put that in contrast with a PETA ad. Again, I've seen several people do this. Do not go to a website and find an ad. Do not do that. You have to go to the library. You have to go through the library database, find a magazine, and use one of those magazines. If there's another magazine you have access to, I'm fine with that, but that's the way to do this. So ads work based on their use of words, images, colors, and stories. Ads often tell a story and their relationship with each other. So what you might want to do is you might want to, make a column, and on one side put ethos, logos, pathos, like on the left side of your on the left side of your paper, and then make columns doing words, images, colors, and story if you want. And then just go through and see what you see working in the ad. Make little notes in those columns, and that can be kind of useful for you to determine what really matters. I've given you some links, and I'll also already in an announcement about this, but there actually are several resources out there that are very useful for you. That could be very useful for you if something's still, just not clicking, on how to analyze an advertisement. And I will share all of these links. The author here, Arthur Asa Berger, he's a very well-known scholar in communication studies. And this was kind of cool. It's a pretty simple way of doing it. What does the text say? What does the image say? And what's the magazine's target market? So what you want to do too, when you're thinking about target market, look at the other ads in the magazine. So flip open your magazine, look at the other ads, and that will probably give you an indication of to whom the magazine is aimed, right? The audience for it. So if you have a magazine where it's all male beauty products, then it's probably aimed at men. If it's all female beauty products, then the magazine's probably aimed at women, right? So think about those three questions. What does the text say? What does the image say? Who is the target audience? So I would encourage you to stop at any point in this video and to use any of these brainstorming activities to try to think through your particular ad to do a really good job with it. So that's all. I'll have another video for you here very shortly. Bye.